Howdy y'all and welcome back. Trigger press. This is BeGunners episode, what are we on? 14 now. Okay. Trigger press. Everything in the last few videos has been pretty non-controversial. Like, I've taught a couple of different options of different things, but it's all been pretty much like fundamentally agreed on kind of gun stuff. Everything from here forward, some internet expert weirdo is gonna chime in the comments below and tell me I'm doing it wrong, or I'm gonna build training scars, or I'm gonna get you killed in the streets or something, because this stuff gets more subjective. This is just where I'm coming from 30 years of experience. Your mileage may vary, but what I want to do is keep this as simple as possible. This series is for brand new gun owners, and there is a lot of information. There are a lot of voices, and people will have differing opinions, and they're going to teach things slightly differently. Try not to get too hung up on all of that stuff. All right? But when we talk about trigger press, I think one of the first things that comes up is trigger finger placement. Where do I want my finger on the trigger? And there's a notoriously famous old garbage. It's a bullseye target, and it has segments charted off, and it says if your bullets are going here, you're using too much trigger finger, and if they're going over here, it's not enough trigger. That's all garbage. All right. Just pick up the gun, and yes, this gun is safe and clear. Pick up the gun, put your finger on the trigger. Wherever it naturally lands, let's just go with that, okay? So if I pick up a different gun and put my finger on the trigger, this gun has snap caps in it. If I put my finger on this trigger, it's going to land in a slightly different place. That's just fine. I'm not going to get hung up on exactly where my trigger finger is. That's going to put you in your head more than you want to be in your head. We are still in the body, right? So we've been talking about our grip, our framing, our stance. I want you to stay in that spirit of staying in your body. So we talked about how triggers work a little bit, but let's go back over that. So in a striker fired gun, your first thing you're going to have when you touch the trigger is on a Glock style trigger. You've got a little safety dingus. When I say touch, I'm referring to engaging that. So I'm pushing that all the way in. If you don't have a dingus, then your finger is just touching the trigger. All right, now we know that there is some travel, some take up right there. Then I hit resistance, which is the wall. But in a Gen 4, Gen 3 Glock like this, you've got a little bit of extra creep right through after I've hit the resistance, and then the trigger breaks. So again, I'm touching, but I've got some take up, then I hit resistance, but then I've got a little more, and then there it goes, okay? And every gun's gonna be a little bit different, but again, I want you to take all of those concepts and flush them, all right? What I want you to get in the habit of is touch, press, touch, press, touch, press. Same thing with a double action, whether it's a double action semi-auto or double action revolver. I touch. I know that I have lots of travel as I'm engaging. I'm bringing the hammer back. I feel the stacking of the spring in the gun. It's getting heavier and heavier, and then it's gonna break. All right, so I'm pulling and pulling and pulling, and then somewhere I know it's going to get real light here, and where is it? And oh. All right, and that's what happens. When you get in the habit of trying to find the break, you're going to, where is it? It's right there, and you're going to do that one. So same thing, even with a striker fired gun, I'm pulling, and oh, there it is. And I'm pulling, and I'm pulling, and you just, it's unnecessary. And if you are having to use your gun in a self-defense scenario, you don't have that luxury of messing around and doing all of that. right? You want to get yourself in the habit now of, I'm going to extend, touch the trigger, and press. I'm going to extend, touch, press. I'm going to extend, touch, press. Extend, touch, press. So on an iron-sighted gun, at this stage, we're not talking about aiming per se, like we'll get into that later, but for now, if you roughly know what a sight picture is supposed to look like, go ahead and start working on picking up that front sight as you extend. So I'm looking for that front sight, and I just want to superimpose the front sight over my target, my threat. And when you're brand new, I highly recommend bringing the target way on in, like 3 yards or maybe 5 yards. Make it easier for yourself. And realistically, that's a kind of a typical engagement, self-defense engagement distance. So getting hung up on being able to hit a beer can at 100 yards with your pistol right now is dumb. That's counterproductive. Let the target be large. Don't worry too much about exactly what your sights are doing yet. For the purpose of this, I want you to stay in your body, not your head, and just get good at extending out. I can see my front sight. It's over the thing that I want to hit. I'm touching the trigger. I'm pressing the trigger. And what I want you to work on is, as you press the trigger, grip the gun well and try not to let the gun move. So that's where our stance, being anchored into the ground, our framing, really holding the gun with our arms, as well as having a proper foundational grip on the gun with our hands. All of that comes together so that even if my trigger pull isn't perfect, the gun doesn't move very much. Does it move a little? Can I see my front sight moving a little? A little, barely, but not much. All right. Fluid. Think fluid. You want just a nice fluid extend, touch, press, boom. Extend, touch, press, boom. Now, with this gun, I have an optic on here. If you have an optic on your gun and you're brand new, yay for you. Nothing wrong with that. But go ahead and get used to, as soon as you extend out, make sure that you're seeing your dot and really anchor that into your muscle memory before you even attempt to start doing dry fire trigger presses. So you may need to do this 100 times or 1,000 times or 10,000 times so that every time you bring the gun out, you are seeing your dot. Once you're doing that consistently well, so that's your presentation we talked about in the last video, you're extending, there's my target, dot, finger, or dot, touch, press. So dot, touch, press, touch, press, touch, press. And as you work up speed, you will start kind of combining your extend and your touch. So I'm somewhere in here, I'm touching the trigger, but I'm not pulling yet. I'm on, I'm pressing. If you are at a range, probably a good idea to slow that all the way back down so that you don't have an uh-oh, which is where you've, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and, oh crap, I wasn't ready to shoot yet. Depending on your gun, that can happen. So at a range, you really want to make sure that you are fully extended all the way, touch, press. But it doesn't have to be a long, like, okay, I've got my sights, now I'm waiting for that perfect, okay, my dot is perfect, and then you're gonna do that. So you do want to kind of get yourself in the habit of, and if I'm at especially an indoor range, but really any range, I'm going to work from compressed ready. So I'm not going to muzzle my camera here, but that, except it's that, right? So I'm here. I'm going to extend out, dot, touch, press. Don't lollygag and hang around here. You're going to start fatiguing yourself. You're going to get in your head. and then you're gonna flinch. It's just the way it works. So the longer you keep that gun out here, you start getting tired, your shots are gonna get worse. So bring it back in, let everything rest, reset. This will also save you a ton of money on ammo by just slowing everything down and really focusing on extend, touch, press. Extend, touch, press. And work on that in your dry practice and then carry that over to the range. Again, before beginning any kind of dry practice session, check your gun, check it again, triple check it. Please keep your ammo far, far away from you while you're doing dry practice. Keep extra magazines away from you. Be safe, y'all. So extend, touch, press, and forget all that stuff about getting hung up on where your trigger finger goes. You might be 6'4" and have giant meat hooks, or you might be 5 foot nothing and barely reaching. It doesn't matter. If you can pull the trigger without moving the gun significantly, you're gonna hit what you're trying to hit. All right, y'all. Until next time, be easy.